Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Now, as I said, I was going to start covering some of these newer distilleries, and in this case I'm covering one out of Seattle, Washington called 2 Bar Spirits. Let's get into it. Now, 2 Bar Spirits was started by a guy named Nathan Kaiser, and much like myself, he is was a tech guy, and he decided to get out of that industry. Now, one thing I can tell you about tech people is that we constantly have other stuff going on up here. We always have other hobbies, we always have different little ideas for businesses that we want to start, or at least the people I've known have. And so Nathan was not a surprise when talking to him, he told me this. And, you know, he decided to go make a whiskey distillery. And in this case, he called it after a cattle ranch that was part of his heritage. I believe it was his grandfather who owned it and used to make moonshine on the ranch. And that ranch was called 2 Bar, Ranch. And in this case, he took the original logo, which I'll put up here. It was a 2 and then the minus sign and 2 Bar. But he found that people didn't really, like that for the logo. So in this case, he ended up changing it. They called it like 2 dash or 2 minus spirits. So he changed the logo. So I think it looks a little bit nicer and it does stand out on shelves. So let's talk a little bit more about, how he runs this thing. So he's got about 450 barrels aging at any given time. And per month he's going through like 28,000 pounds of grain, and he's doing this all with 4 people. He's got himself, who kind of is into everything. He's got his head distiller named Maddie. He's got Ann and Travis, and between the 4 of them, they're running this whole show. And I just kind of respect the hell out of that. That's a lot of work for 4 people to do. So anyway, enough about them. Let's talk about the whiskey. Now, 2 Bar Spirits has their bourbon that they do, and they also have a moonshine that they put out all the time. But they also do some experimentation. So most recently they did a rye, which was very well received, and they're totally already sold out of. Their next experiment is going to be a heavily malted wheat whiskey, which sounds awesome. So I'm looking forward to trying that one. But aside from that, they are the first Seattle distillery to be all locally sourced. And because of that, I really wanted to focus on this particular distillery, because if I'm going to promote somebody who's small, I kind of like the idea that they're also using other small businesses to help fund their business as well, or not fund, supply their business as well. So good for them. Now, the last piece that in my mind really made this whiskey stand out from some of the others that I've been considering featuring is it's 100 proof. Now, that doesn't happen in craft distilleries. Everybody's 80 proof, or maybe 86 or 80, something like that, low, because you can get a lot more product out of it. Figure that you can get like 20% more product. So why do they do this? Well, it seems to me like they care. It seems like a tough concept, but especially, let's be fair. It costs a lot to get this stuff up and running, and you got to wait a couple of years before you can sell anything, unless you're making moonshine like they are. But even still, it doesn't necessarily pay the bills. It's the bourbon that's selling that's really making you the money. And in this case, they put it out at 100 proof, which is a gamble that I really, really think is just awesome that they took that gamble. It shows that they actually care. At least to me anyway. So enough about the whiskey, let's get into the nosing and the tasting. All right, so let's go ahead and pour this. Just gonna do a small little dram here. So I'm gonna swirl it around a bit to really aerate it, and let's get some nose in here. So let me nose. So there is a little bit of the alcohol burn, which is to be expected. If I had to pick out a negative, it would probably be the nose of this whiskey. It just smells a little young. There's virtually no oak to it. But aside from that, it's got a bit of honey in the nose, and in general it's pretty sweet smelling. It smells like it's made of a lot of corn. So all right, let's go ahead and give this a taste. Cheers. So let me talk about this whiskey for a minute. As far as the way it tastes, let me just kind of throw it out there. There's virtually no oak, which is strange. And when you're drinking a bourbon, it's kind of something that you expect. You expect to taste oak, vanilla, caramel, and something else maybe, if it's really good. In this case, I'm getting honey, which is great. I'm getting corn for sure. It's very sweet, but no oak, which is odd. It's almost as if it's still a moonshine, which kind of just lets me think that it's too young. Now here's the problem. I know for a fact that they sell out of their product consistently. People love this stuff, and myself included. As you can tell, it's half empty. Me and my friend Gary kind of went to town on this the other night, and we both really loved it. So it's good for like novice, intermediate to connoisseur. It's like this can be enjoyed by anybody. But what I want to see is this stuff be aged for a little longer, like 4 years. I think would be awesome. So to that point, I want to suggest that you buy this whiskey, and kind of for 2 reasons. Number one, I think it's worth your money. Now this is $50, so I mean it's not cheap, which it shouldn't be. It's a 100 proof whiskey. But I think what you need to remember when spending that money is that this is going to a small distillery who has a lot of overhead, and they're trying to make it in a competitive market that has well-established brands. So what I think you should do is support this whiskey, buy this whiskey if you find it, and I'll put a list down of the states that it's available down here, or you can go to their website and order it online. I think you should patronize, I guess, this whiskey, buy it and love it, and in a few years, see where they go. So anyway, to all the people at Two Bar Spirits, I salute what you're doing. I think you're doing it awesome. Keep doing what you're doing and age this stuff longer. It deserves it. So cheers. If you want to help support the channel so I can review all the whiskey you love, check out my Patreon. It's easy to sign up, easy to contribute, and rewards start as low as $1 a month. You can get t-shirts, custom Glencairn glasses, or even come on a live stream. Follow the link in the description to get started.